Hello, YouTube. My name is Big Boy Snatch on TB, aka what kind of snacks you want, because I got plenty to go around. This is my AEW Dynamite review and highlights. Toni Storm confronts Mercedes Moné. That's the title of the thumbnail in the video. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys please watch the video from all the way from the beginning and all the way to the end. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content. For more wrestling content that I do on the channel, where I give you guys the full breakdown of my review and not the half of my review. Go check out my WWE NXT review and highlights and follow my social media down below in the description. Now let's get started. Now AEW Dynamite was a solid show. Was a solid show for what it was before a go home show before AEW All In Texas. This was a solid show for what it was. It says we get into the intro video to bring us to ringside, where Mercedes Moné makes her way out for her final face-to-face with Thomas Toni Storm ahead of All In Texas. The ring is decked out with a red carpet of shorts and a pair of director's chairs as the CEO and TBS champion enters, telling Texas to say hello to their CEO. Mercedes Moné calls the AEW Women's World Champion out to meet her face to face, but the screen comes on instead. Thomas Toni Storm talks about two big things come out of Texas, and Toni Storm is at least one of them. This gets a pop and Toni chants from the crowd as Mercedes Moné tells her to come out of hiding. You mark. She also promised not to hurt Luther too badly, but Thomas Toni Storm insists she's not hiding before calling for her music. The champion, the champion Toni Storm, her way, her way down the ramp with a bottle of champagne. Mercedes Moné always a toast with Toni Storm, a toast for herself, and as she will be the new AEW Women's World Champion. She takes a sip, complaining about it being burnt as if it was frozen. But Thomas Toni Storm tells her to save the performance BS for her entrance. She runs down her challenger, a highlight of which is saying Mercedes Moné has the emotional depth of a kid, kiddie pool, asking what Mercedes Moné has to hide going into their match. Mercedes Moné, Mercedes Moné mocks her, insisting that she outclassed Toni Storm in every way before saying no one will stop the money train, not even Toni Storm. She talks about her legacy and calls herself the one woman revolution, the alpha and omega and everything in between. But Toni Storm says legacies don't exist. We are going to die. All that matters is one moment that Mercedes Moné looks her in the eye and realizes she fears an ordinary life, but Thomas Toni Storm fears an ordinary death. She says Mercedes Moné deserves all the titles in the world, but not this one. All right. Mercedes Moné will go down as the woman who just couldn't win the big one. Mercedes Moné realized they can't be civil about it. Saying this Sunday, she means this Saturday. She will the sim have have to simply be Toni Stark and take what's hers. The crowd lets her know what they think of that. Sip as the pair toast one more time before Toni Storm charged at the TBS champion. She lays in some punches before Mercedes Moné clears out of the ring, retreating up the ramp as Toni Storm music hits, while Toni Storm runs Mercedes down some more. All right, it's just the opening segment got a little rough around the edges, but I'll be honest, still to some still dialogue between them, and that's setting aside the Sunday slip. I would normally try to ignore that, but it struck out like a sore thumb here. One on the flip side, some great zingers from both. This was a pretty good segment to kick off the show. All right. We cut to backstage vintage where John Moxley talks about Hangman Adam Page asking if he can hold the line under pressure of everyone counting on him at all in Texas. He thinks Page is a waste, but the Hangman has one chance to prove him wrong. He better walk. He better walk that Elza like it's his last time because whether he likes it or not, he is all the way in with this. All right. It says we cut to the parking lot where the Young Bucks have egregiously miscalled time to finally arrive ahead of the All Star 8-man tag team match later tonight. The cheek of the cheek of them. Oh, all right. It says back at ringside, Bandito and Brody King make their entrance for our opening match. Out next are Protoshita, and we get things on the way. So we get the first match. All right. So we get I'm sorry. So we get Brody King and Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito versus Proto Protoshita, Kyle Fletcher, and Kanushka Takeshka. And this match right here, I ain't gonna lie, this was a good match right here. We start off with Brody King and Takeshka, the two big men trading heavy strikes until Brody King takes the upper hand. This forced the Alpha to make the tag to Kyle Fletcher, who ends up suffering a similar fate until Brody King decides to tag in Bandito. The luchador keeps the protostar on his toes with a fury of offense, forcing Kyle Fletcher to his corner where he calls out Kyle Kanushka to tag in. Kanushka to catch a blitz, and we get a peek at what's to come at Supercar Supercar of Honor when the two get at it with Bandito catching Takeshka with the arm drag only to get laid out with a lariat by the Alpha. He catches Brody King with one, sending him right back out of the ring, leading to a dive from Bandito and Kanushka, Takeshka, and Brody King. Alright, Brody King brings his partner back into the ring. And I'm sorry, Brody King brings his partner back into the ring to work on a double team on Kanushka Takeshka, but Kyle Fletcher intervenes to even things out. He and Takeshka sends Brody King out of the ring, posing to the charging of the crowd as we go to commercial break. Alright. It says back from commercial break, Kyle Fletcher is in control as he goes after Bandito before sending him into the corner, only for the luchador to knock Takeshita off the apron, which lets him focus on Kyle Fletcher now next. Tag made to Brody King, who takes the Proto Star to the mat with a big side slam before sending him to the corner for a running cannonball. He pulls Kyle Fletcher away from the corner for a cover, but only gets a 2 count. All right. Kyle Fletcher is back up for a third kick, but that gets blocked. Only for Kyle Fletcher to take him down with a Mochoka driver. This only gets a 2 count before Kyle Fletcher escapes for a tag to Kanushka Takeshka. Bandito tags in as well, but the Proto Cheetah double team him until Brody King hops onto the apron and catches Kyle Fletcher with a sleeper while Bandito goes up top for a false splash only top goes up top for a false splash on the Alpha, covered by Bandito, but Kyle Fletcher barely managed to break the pin. Brody Key and Kyle Fletcher takes the fight to the outside as Takeshka blocks a 21 place. Bandito makes his way up onto the ropes, but is take back down. And a tornado attempts leads to raging fire, taking him down as Takeshka takes the win for his team. Alright. The winner of the match the winner by pinfall, Proto Sheeta. And all right, let's move on. Don Callis joins the pair to celebrate as commentary hypes up the upcoming week leading to All In Texas on Saturday, not Sunday. All right, it says good opening tag team match. Brody King and Bandito made for an interesting dynamic here, but it is a win for Proshita ahead of Takeshka challenging Bandito for the Ring of Honor title at Supercard of Honor this Friday. All right. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. All right, let me take a sip of my water before I continue. All right. All right, video package. The Outrunners promise to take FTR down tomorrow night with Jespy and the Penitentiary in the mix of an 8-man tag match on Collision. All right, so we go to commercial break. Backstage, we hear from FTR and the Penitentiary, Christian Cage and Nick Wayne challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championships at AEW All In, Texas. And Cage offers to help FTR out after they win the titles in exchange for help at Collision tomorrow night. Stoke addresses the fact that FTR were left out of the title match on Saturday, agreeing to Cage offers only so for as saying we see how Collision goes. Back at ringside, Ricochet makes his way out as we get in a set promo from Blake Christian, who is in the ring for our next match, and things gets underway. So we get Ricochet versus Blake Christian, and this was a decent match right here. Blake Christian goes after Ricochet early, taking him to the ropes before Ricochet fights back. Blake Christian forced him to the outside for a breather, but managed to turn things around on him. Despite bald chant from the crowd, Blake Christian managed to get back in control, eventually sending Ricochet out of the ring as the crowd cheers for him. He goes for a dive, leaping through the ropes to take Ricochet to the floor to a nice pop. Gates of Unagi makes their way out, distracting Blake Christian long enough for Ricochet to send him into the ring. Steps as we go to commercial break. Back from commercial break, both men are in the ring once more, but not for long as Ricochet sends Blake Christian to the outside. He goes for a dive but gets caught by Blake Christian for a 2 count. Blake Christian is up on his feet, laying into Ricochet with some right hands until Ricochet fights back, but Blake Christian hits a cutter, setting up for a 450 splash and a close 2 count on Ricochet. Blake Christian goes to the ropes, but it's knocked to the outside as Gates of Anagi intervene. Will try to intervene. They manage to succeed right after Ricochet distracts the referee, as this gives Ricochet the opening for a spirit gun followed by the vertigo for the win. The winner by pinfall Ricochet. This was a decent match for what it was. Gates of Anagi come in and beat up on Blake Christian after the match before they stand beside him as we celebrate his win. Decent enough match between Ricochet and Blake Christian. Dude, I couldn't get over just how often they went to the outside for such a short match. Flies this under did what it was supposed to do, but a nice look at the budding relationship between Ricochet and the Gates of Unagi. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. Backstage, Renee Paquette talks to MJF about the upcoming talkie talk with Mark Briscoe, but MJF insists he won't be dealing with that alone, as he has the Hurt Syndicate with him. MVP interrupts to get the tag chance to grab their titles, only to find out that Jespy have taken the belts early after Kevin Knight got the win over Sheldon Benjamin on Collision. This rallies the trio up, leaving MJF on his own as we cut away. So we get a video package. The history between Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega leading their winner AEW Texas All In match at AEW All In Texas. So we go to commercial break. We're back at ringside as Mark Briscoe heads out for a talkie talk with MJF. Speaking of MJF, makes his way out next, entering the ring as the first two in chance in the upcoming Casino Gauntlet match. Stare at each other. Tiny Pickle chant from the crowd until Mark Briscoe has asked them to settle down for this heavy sight. Talkie Talk MJF feels even more strongly about this than I do as he runs Mark Briscoe down before mocking the crowd, before mocking the Texas crowd as he jokes about dog walking Mark Briscoe at AEW All In Texas. The crowd tells him to shut the you know what up, but MJF persists as he tells Mark Briscoe there will be no talkie talk, but he can take a wonky walk. right on out of this ring. Mark Briscoe says to listen here, Pickle. It sounds like you need a good fashion country, you know what, whooping. The crowd emerged him as he talks about delivering whoopings to win the casino gauntlet. But that is Saturdays, Wednesday is Talkie Talk Day. MJF, yeah, it says I'm sorry, it says MJF tried to berate Mark Briscoe, but it doesn't work. I'm sorry, because Mark Briscoe is proud to be a country redneck to have had hard work for every dollar he earned. Um, he talks about MGF thinking he's rich, but Mark Briscoe has his own riches in his family and loved ones. MGF isn't rich; he's bankrupt. In fact, the world of the day today is bankrupt because MGF is morally bankrupt and he has no soul he sees through MGF and already knows what he's going to do. All right. He knows MJF is going to. I'm sorry. He says he knows MJF is going to talk some mad trash about his brother and try to rally him up and invites him to give it his best. MJF never talks bad about Jay, who will go down as one of the greatest wrestler and human beings ever. However, however, does it pity his brother, who has had to watch from the pearly gates to see Mark Briscoe gonna get going from being one half of the best tag team in pro wrestling to become a joke. He then leans in and he says that Jay Briscoe would probably tell Mark Briscoe he should have been me in that accident. It should have been you. This gets Mark Briscoe mad enough to take take MJF down on the mat, laying in some punches before the Hurt Syndicate comes down to make the save. They make their way down as Mark Briscoe chase MJF to the back, only to be intercepted by Just B, who takes Shelton Benjamin to the ring steps before laying out Lashley with a running kick to the floor. Alright. They continue to fight as the Partentry comes out to pick up the scraps. They focus on Bobby Lashley setting him up for the Conchero to on his knees as Jesse focus on dealing with Shelton Benjamin on the ring in the ring. Third kick by Speedball leads to the UFO splash by Kevin Knight before the pair stares down the Partentry, who looks at them from ringside looks for them from outside of the ring. Alright. The commentary hypes up the card for AEW All In Texas, and up next we found out who earned the second spot in the women's casino gauntlet match. Alright, video package DraftKings and their ordinary ongoing prize. The pay-per-view predictions comes to AEW All In Texas on Saturday. Alright, back from ringside. Megan Bain is accompanied by Penelope Ford as she makes her way out for our next match. We get a shot of Chris Statlander watching from the crowd as the Keela makes her entrance next, followed by the Queen of Amnita, rounding out the competitors for this fatal four-way as Tay Miller accompanies by Anna Jay to the ring before we get underway. So we get the next match, a fatal four-way match for the number 2 spot in the women's casino gala at AEW All In Texas. Megan Bain versus Tay Mello versus Queen Amnata versus The Killer. And this fatal four-way match right here, I ain't even gonna lie. This was a very solid fatal four-way match, but it had really good showcasing. And that's about it. Megan Bain goes after the killer from the opening bell as Amnata and Miller go at it. The killer is sent out of the ring by Megan Bain, who lays out Tay Miller with the queen with a double clothesline before the action spilled to the outside. culminating in a dive off the top by Amnata. Takala takes control shortly after, however, as we go to a full commercial break. Back from commercial break, Takala gets a 2 count on Amnata. Tamela comes in to intervene, but Megan Bain breaks it up quick before going after the Queen and Tamela. Megan Bain takes control as she dives Takala down for a near fall of her own before Amnata and Tamela goes after the Megas, the Megases. All right, they dug a double clothesline before sending her out of the ring, and Amnata rolls up Tamela for a two before Dakela breaks it up. This doesn't last. This doesn't last. This doesn't last for much longer before Megan Brain gets involved, hosting Dakela up to launch her over the ropes onto an Amnata and Tamela after sending them outside, and they land a big dive of her own when they get back to when they get back on their feet. She brings Tamela back in the ring, but Tamela managed to fight back with some kicks. She sets up Megan Bain for a gory special with knee strike, but gets sent out of the ring. The Kala goes after the Megas instead. She sets up for a spear, but only gets a near fall before Amnita breaks the pin. Megan Bain is sent out of the ring as Amnita turns things around on the Kala on the Kala to send her to the ropes. Before Penelope Ford intervenes, Anna Jay pulls her away as Megan Bain sets up for a fake decent descent, having to quickly adjust to keep Amnata's shoulders on the mat as she gets the win to earn the number two spot in the Casino Gauntlet match at AEW All In Texas. The winner by pinfall in the number two spot in the Casino's Gauntlet match at All In Texas, Megan Bain. All right. This was a solid match, but it has some good showcasing here. Megan Brain celebrates as commentary acknowledges the recent tragedy in Central Texas as AEW will keep the victims and their families in their thoughts. Very solid Fatal 4 match. A really good showcase for all four women, but especially for Megan Bain and the Killer. A big win for the Megasis, and she is now the number two entrant in the women's casino gauntlet match. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. All right, so we go to commercial break. Backstage, Renee Paquette tries to get a word with the Killer about the women's casino gauntlet match on Saturday, but she gets attacked by Queen Amnata. They go at it as Mark Briscoe pops up to say he got just what he need from MJF tonight, and as he's fired up to win the men's casino gauntlet match at AEW All in Texas. We head back to the ring as Samoa Joe makes his entrance for our next match. Wheeler Yuta makes his way down the hallways leading to the crowd, soaking in the hate from the fans on his way towards ringside before this match gets underway. Alright, so we get the next match. Samoa Joe versus Wheeler Yuta. And this was a decent match right here. Yeah, this was a decent match. The crowd lets Wheeler Yuta know Samoa Joe is going to kill you as he tries to lock up with the former world champion who seems barely phased by Wheeler Yuta wrenching his arm. Samoa Joe takes him to the mat, forcing him to go for the ropes for a break. Wheeler Yuta calls for the test of strength and Samoa Joe obliges, which causes an issue for Wheeler Yuta as he gets sent to the corner. He catches Samoa Joe for a moment, but Samoa Joe hopes away from a jump from Wheeler Yuta. Alright. It says Samoa Joe leaves the ring as Wheeler Yuta goes for another dive, and Samoa Joe hopes away once more, forcing Wheeler Yuta to land on the floor as we go to commercial break. Alright, so we go to commercial break. We come back from commercial break just as Samoa Joe gets a near fall, on Ray Liotta, and both men gets back to their feet before Samoa Joe takes Ray Liotta to the canvas. Ray Liotta managed to fight back enough to send Samoa Joe through the outside for a dive that connects that connects this time, and when Samoa Joe gets back in the ring, he's taken down by Ray Liotta for a 2 count. Alright. Samoa Joe gets back. I'm sorry. Samoa Joe gets sent to the corner, but fights back until Ray Liotta takes him down for an armbar. Samoa Joe fights back for a Manhattan drop before getting a two off a running senton. He keeps on the rope. He keeps on the top. He keeps on the top of Ray Liotta for a second near fall in a row before bringing Ray Liotta in the corner. He then sends Ray Liotta to the ropes, but Ray Liotta looks for a German suplex, only to take a bite out of Samoa Joe, trying to roll him up. Samoa Joe counters into a coquina clutch, and Willa Yuta taps out. The winner by submission, Samoa Joe. This was a decent match between Samoa Joe and Willa Yuta. They celebrate. The celebration is cut short by the arrival of Gable Kidd, but Powerhouse Hobbs and Kazuchika Shibata runs down to intervene. Gable Kidd and Ray Liotta escape to the crowd as we go to commercial break ahead of our main event up next. Decent little match between Samoa Joe and Ray Liotta, even mostly just a way to transition us to the main event. LOL hashtag AEW Dynamite. All right, so we go to commercial break. All right, we're back from commercial break, and there will be enough talk. It's time for our main event. Powerhouse Shibata and introduced as they're uh, obviously still out here from moments ago. Out next is Will Ospreay to a big pop from the Garland crowd. Rounding out the team is Hangman Adam Page to his own big pop as he heads to the ring. Out next are the Young Bucks to a mixed reaction. Some EVP seems to learn into it, and we get John Moxley and Claudio Cascanoli coming through the crowd to head towards ringside. The pair enters the ring, and we get things underway with our main event. Alright, so we get the main event of the evening, All-Star 8-Man Tag Team match. John Moxley, Claudio Cascanoli, and the Young Bucks versus Hangman Adam Page, Will Ospreay, and Kazuchika Shibata, and Powerhouse Hobbs. And this match right here, I might as well say, this was some this match right. This was a not bad of a match. This was a okay 8-man tag team match. We eventually start off with Page and Matthews through Hangman. It's more focused on John Moxley, and this allows Matthews to take advantage. Tag to Nicholas Jackson and the Young Bucks take down the former best friends. Only for Will Ospreay to get a tag, even things up. He takes out Matthews before tagging and Shibata. The pair taking the fight to Nicholas in the corner before Powerhouse House tags him for an assist. Power slam leads to a tag to Ospreay, who hits a Scott Twister press for a near fall before it gets broken up. The action spills outside as all 8 men go at it, leading to Page going for a big moonsault off the top rope, off the top onto the rest down below as we go to commercial break. Bathroom, hold on, let me take a sip of my water before I continue. Oh, it's got to say hydrate chat. But anyway, let me continue. So we're back from commercial break. Hangman Adam Page gets the tag to go after everyone can, everyone he can before finally focus on Matthews for a fallaway slam. He goes out to Clark Cascanoli for a dive to the outside as we spot a table set up at ringside. Page gets back in the ring for a Laker bomb on Matthews, but Nicholas breaks up the pin at 2 in the midst of a dead eye attempt. We barely catch that Claudio Castagnoli Claudio Castagnoli blonde test before he goes after the hangman. Tag made to Powerhouse Hobbs, and the Powerhouse Hobbs trade shots with Claudio Castagnoli before sending him to the corner for a series of strikes amidst a meat chant amidst a, um, and amidst a meat chant. Alright. Claudio Castagnoli starts to fight back, but Kazuchika Shibata makes the tag to go after him. The Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page jumps in and chaos ensues until Will Ospreay gets caught with a double super kick by the Young Bucks. They do the same to Powerhouse Hobbs, setting him up to be sent through the table by Claudio Castagnoli. EVP trigger connects on Kazuchika Shibata as John Moxley gets the tag now, chases in a bulldog choke, and Shibata has no choice but to tap out. The winner of the match by submission, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and the Young Bucks. Um, Hangman Page tried to intervene, but is caught off by a Gable Kick with Riddle coming in as the Death Riders set up Hangman Page before handing a pair of plastic bags to cover Hangman with. The EBP are hesitant to do their old friend was once done to Brian Danielson, and they never quite do it, as the screen reveals Swerve Strickland out out in a parking lot. All right, he says right here. He talks about the choices that had to be made in life before we discovered that he's operating in excavator. He goes to work destroying the custom limousine of the Young Bucks. We cut between him doing this on the ops and Page turning things around on the Young Bucks and the Death Riders. Alright. Hangman Page looks to set up for a buckshot lariat on John Moxley, but Claudio Castagnoli intercepts and with an uppercut. This doesn't phase the Hangman Adam Page all that much as he sends Claudio Castagnoli away before staring down the champ. He's handed a chain that he looks to use on John Moxley, but Mauricio Red pulls him away as the Death Riders escape through the crowd. All right, we cut to the parking lot where the Young Bucks are besides themselves at the site of the cave-in limbo. Prince Nana mocks them for a moment before Swerve Strickland gets the jump on them, but they swerve stomp, sending the Young Bucks to the ground. All right. Back at ringside, Heyman Adam Page continues to stare John Moxley down as the Death Riders retreat ahead of the big showdown at AEW All in Texas to bring Dynamite to a close. And I'm sorry, crazy stuff in our hashtag AEW Dynamite main event. Part of me wish nearly begs for TK to reconsider all these All Stars multi-person tag matches, but at least this one was a bit of fun to see play out. The actually finish of their match matters a little less than what went down after. So this match was the 8-man tag team match was fun, and it had the W ending, and then all right, and then it says right here, all in. It says all in all, this was a pretty solid episode of AEW Dynamite that did a really good job for the most part in setting up the final pieces of the puzzle for All In Texas. Some moments were kind of shaky. That opening segment for one thing, and some of the booking decisions. And AEW Dynamite goes off the air. All right. Let me give my honest opinion of what I think about AEW Dynamite. Now, A now yeah, now AEW Dynamite was a very solid show. Um, before I go home show before AEW All In Texas, it was a very solid show for what it was. Now, if you guys enjoy my AEW Dynamite review on highlights, make sure you guys please full watch the video from all the way from the beginning all the way towards the end. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content that I do on the channel, where I give you guys a full breakdown of my review and not to have my review. Go check out my WWE NXT review on highs. Follow my social media down below in the description. And I just got affiliate today on Twitch, so I'm very happy about that. Make sure you guys say congratulations to me that I got affiliate on Twitch, and I got to get everything set up on for my affiliate on Twitch. But I will stream tomorrow on Twitch to play some retro games, but I do not know what time. That's all I gotta say. Um, this your boy B Boy Snatch on TV. Have a great night. Stay safe and always stay positive. Kept your crew, kept your kings, kept your club. Too sweet. I'm out of here. Gang. Mwah. Bang. Too sweet. Gang. And I'll see you guys in my world premiere for my AEW, on my upcoming world premiere for my AEW Dynamite review on Hots at 4 o'clock a.m. on YouTube. So stay too sweet. I'm out of here. Gang. Mwah. Bang. Too sweet. Gang.